Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another classic film review. Today's classic film review is for Castaway, that was released in the year 2000, directed by Robert Zemeckis and stars Tom Hanks and Helen Hunt. And the film focuses on Tom Hanks' character Chuck Noland, who is a FedEx employee. He travels the world and he essentially is in a plane crash. This plane is carrying FedEx cargo. He's on this plane, it crashes, and he ends up being stranded on a desert island with no survival skills, and he has got to learn to stay alive for the next 4 years. Now, I'm guessing most of you who's watching this review have seen this film. For those of you who haven't seen this film, there will probably be some spoilers ahead. So, needless to say, if you don't want any spoilers, click off now. But I do generally recommend that you go and check this film out because it is very, very good. Right. So, my thoughts on Castaway. This is easily one of my favourite Tom Hanks films. I did a top 10 list of my favourite Tom Hanks films within the last 12 months, I believe, and this definitely made the list. If you want to know how high up the list, go and check out that list. It'll be on the top 10s playlist. I just really like this. I just think Tom Hanks is one of the few actors that can pull off this role, because essentially the film is just him for a good 80% of the runtime. You get a chunk at the beginning of the film where you see him doing his FedEx stuff. You see him with his relationship with Helen Hunt, this little charming, loving relationship around Christmas, and they're promised to each other that they're going to get married and all this kind of stuff, and they exchange Christmas gifts, and he utters those immortal words to her, "I'll be right back," and he definitely wasn't right back. So it's a beautifully set up film. It is a little bit lazy now. It sets up some other things in the film, like his toothache and things like that. You know what I mean? But it's that minor niggles in my part, I suppose you could say. The plane crash itself, when it takes place, is really intense. One of the most intense, I think, in cinema history. Very intense, the plane crash, and then he ends up on this desert island, and it's just him. It's just him for a large amount of the film, learning to survive on this island. And at the beginning, he's quite chubby, and the story goes that Tom Hanks, got himself quite podgy to do the initial part of the film, and then they closed the production down for around 12 months so he could go away and lose all the weight. For the second part of the film, if you like. Pretty great commitment from Tom Hanks there, and like I said, there's very few actors with the ability to pull off the performance that he gives in this film. It is heartbreaking at times, it's funny at times, you just can't take your eyes off the screen, and it was a smart move. And when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous, but it was a smart move for them to, put Wilson in the film, the infamous volleyball, for him to have this companion on the island, and you totally buy into it, and that's a testament to Tom Hanks' acting abilities, that you totally do buy into this, and you see him go through all his trials and tribulations on this island. Learning to live, learning to survive, figuring out what he could eat and drink and all this kind of stuff. There's the gruesome scene in the film with the tooth, when he has the toothache and he's got to try and get rid of the tooth because he's got this huge abscess. He needs to try and sort that out. He injures himself on the island. There's all these dilemmas that he's got to make his way through before he figures out and understands the island and the tide well enough to know when he can make an attempt to leave the island, and it takes him 4 years to figure that out, basically, and get all the materials together and the knowledge to be able to do that. And then the film finishes brilliantly with him returning to civilization, which is, I think, is handled wonderfully. I really, really do. The fact that Helen Hunt, the love of his life, has moved on, got married, has a daughter, His best friend's wife has died in that time. He was away. The fact that he is struggling to fit back into society, and then the ending, you know, I think the pitch perfect ending. And apparently, you know, someone once asked Tom Hanks the question in an interview. I think it was the Actors Studio, when they said to him, what do you think happened at the end of Castaway? And he said, well, that woman that he meets at the end of the film, he follows her and he has babies. Which, let's be honest, that's what we all hoped for his character at the end of Castaway. I certainly did. Especially when you see the wings that he painted on his life raft when he escaped the island. He painted some wings on this piece of debris that had floated up on the island, and then when he saw the same image on the back of her pickup as she's driving away, I mentioned to my wife when we watched it, it says that's his destiny. And it is. I mean, it's a great film. I do once remember having a debate with somebody when I used to have my retail store, when I sold films and memorabilia and things, and there used to be a regular that would come in and we'd talk about movies a lot. And he hated this film, and he hated Tom Hanks, generally speaking. And I always used to argue the point that I thought this was a brilliant film and Tom Hanks was amazing in it. And I stand by that. I think it's a powerhouse of a performance in a wonderful film that is strangely uplifting in many ways, but also heartbreaking at the same time. And I think they pitched it perfectly. So yeah, one of my favourite Tom Hanks films. Definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. I think it's aged wonderfully. It still stands up brilliantly today because of the setting and how they filmed it and all that kind of stuff. Robert Zemeckis makes great films when he decides to make them, and this is no exception. So thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this classic film review, and I will be back obviously with more content on the channel very, very soon.